Also, with regard to that major landslide in the Aranayaka Administrative Division, the District Secretary of Kegol says that about 400 people have reached safe locations. 400 people who were affected by that major landslide in the Siripura area in the Aranayaka Administrative Division have reached safe locations. He added that search and rescue operations are underway to locate the people still unaccounted for. He is also calling on the public to refrain from visiting the scene of the landslide. The Newsfirst crew is on the way to the Siripura area in Aranayaka. Newsfirst Nimesh Vijaysurya joined us earlier on just before the primetime news bulletin, and he informed us that they still have to travel about 4 to 5 kilometers in the bad weather to reach the scene of the landslide. Details regarding the full extent of the landslide are just trickling in. Newsfirst, the Weather Center, is keeping a close watch on things and will keep you up to date as and when things unfold. Moving on to other stories, 11 people have lost their lives in various parts of the country over the past 3 days due to various disaster situations, according to a report that was issued at 4 p.m. today by the Disaster Management Center. The report notes that 6 people have been reported missing, 226,308 people from 63,170 families have been affected by the extreme weather, 137,606 people are being sheltered at welfare centers. Disaster situations including landslides and flooding continue to be reported from many parts of the island. 6 people were reported missing following a landslide in Kadugannava.
The landslide occurred this morning. An area about an acre in size near the Ilukwatta hill in Pilimatalawa had been affected by the landslide, which was triggered by the heavy rainfall. 6 people were reported missing after earth embankments collapsed onto 2 homes. About 35 army personnel are engaged in the search and rescue effort amid the continuing heavy rains. It was reported that 2 women and 4 men were missing. 4 bodies were discovered this afternoon. The search and rescue operation is ongoing. "220 people from 75 families in the number 1 village in Tabover were marooned when the reservoir overflowed. The Sri Lanka Air Force came to the aid of the marooned villagers as helicopters were deployed for the rescue effort. 87 people were airlifted to safety. The Sri Lanka Navy and villagers drew cables across the floodwaters in an attempt to rescue the trapped villagers by boat.
Everything in the house which we bought with our hard-earned money is in the water now.
We do not even have clothes to wear.
The Neelabemma and Paraneluwankuluma areas are flooded due to the Kala Oya overflowing. A large group of people have been provided shelter at displacement camps.
A landslide risk has arisen at the Rangoda Hill between Imaduwa and Pinnaduwa on the southern expressway. The landslide risk affects the stretch between the 100 and 101st kilometer posts on the expressway.
Locals in the area say that if the rains persist, the rocks at the peak of the Rangoda mountain will collapse onto the southern expressway.
3 homes in Nagastanna were damaged when an earth embankment gave way. A landslide damaged 2 homes in Palava Murtalava in Yatnura this afternoon. Several cut failures were reported in Hatton. 3 homes were destroyed while several other homes have been damaged. A coconut palm was uprooted in the Nindapalla area in Ibagama, killing the pillion rider on a motorcycle. The motorcycle rider has been hospitalized for trauma treatment.
We heard a tree collapsing. When my husband came out and looked, the tree had fallen on the victim.
Low-lying areas in Bandara Koswata in Panduwasnura have begun flooding due to the collapse of the dike of the reservoir.
An agriculture official told us to immediately fill this place up with sand. While this process was underway for the second time, the dike of this reservoir collapsed when the sand was being brought.
Northwestern Province Education Minister Sandhya Kumara Rajapaksa has announced that 1,250 schools in the province will be closed tomorrow due to the extreme weather conditions. The decision was made as several schools are being used as shelters for the displaced and many students are unable to travel to school due to the weather. A landslide was also reported in Yatiyantara today. Railway services on the northern line have been suspended due to flooding in Talava and Tambuttegama in Anuradhapura, as one section was affected by an earth slip while another was flooded.
When we contacted the Anuradhapura Railway Control Room, they said that repairs on the tracks have commenced and that a specific date cannot be predicted for railway operations to recommence.
A 37-year-old man was struck by lightning and killed while threshing paddy in a flooded mill in Malvanegama, Talava. A heavy mist engulfed Nura earlier throughout the day today. Authorities have requested motorists to exercise caution on the roads.
Well, those were the reports that were filed by our network of provincial correspondents across the island. However, residents of areas surrounding Colombo as well have been severely affected by the continued flooding which was triggered when the Kalani River broke its banks.
The Kalani River and surrounding areas resembled a major reservoir today. Several slum areas around Colombo city were inundated. Lives that depend on the waters of the Kalani River faced catastrophe today as a result of the same waters that sustain these lives.
I'm here in Nagalagambidia in Totlanga, where the water levels are usually of 2 to 3 feet here. But the water levels today have increased to up to 6 feet, and the public should be on high alert if the water levels continue to increase.
A majority of the people in these areas depend on the river for their livelihoods. People residing here are forced to evacuate to higher grounds during the rainy season and return to their homes in low-lying areas when the rains dissipate.
If they increase the level of this anicut and clean it, the water will recede. Water fills here even for the slightest rain. We can't travel. We request the authorities to take the necessary steps. These floods were caused by the overflowing of the Kalani River. But usually you can see these houses inundated even if it rains for half an hour.
Sedawata too was inundated by the waters of the Kalani River. People residing here set out on foot in search of shelter as many of the neighborhoods here were flooded. In Vellampitiya, the roads and byroads were flooded and the areas resembled a single large reservoir.
It's been 3 days since these houses have been inundated, but no officials have visited us thus far.
Hundreds of people living in areas, outlying areas from the capital have been displaced as a result of the floods. Newsfirst deployed several teams to inquire into the plight of these people.
People living in areas including Thotalanga, Kalaniya, Kolunnawa, Vallampitiya and Vannavatta have begun leaving their homes. Following a major effort, our team was able to traverse the flooded roads to reach people living in areas affected by flood waters from the Kalani River. People from about 1,000 homes in the area have taken to the streets seeking temporary shelter. Many of these have been inundated by flood waters. Residents of this area could only look on helplessly as the flood waters carried away their belongings.
The residents of this area have been forced out of their houses due to the excessive floods that have affected the area. Now, according to the residents, they do not have food to eat, they do not have water to drink, and on top of all that, they do not have a place to stay. The hope that these people have that someone might come and provide a solution to this situation here is very bleak.
Now, Newsfirst 20,000 plus strong island-wide network of citizen journalists, the Newsfirst U reporters, were also busy in their communities covering the extreme weather situation. Let's take a look at some of the reports that they filed.